Welcome to Esoteric Thoughts. In 1 Samuel 18, we read of a bizarre story about David and Saul. After one of his many killings, he returns from slaughtering Philistines, and the young women from all the cities of Israel came to greet him, dancing and singing. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Saul didn't like the song or the attention David was receiving, and was out to get him from that day forward. The text goes on to say that while Saul prophesied under the influence of God's evil spirit, David played with his hand, and Saul tried to kill him by throwing a spear at him twice, but he got away. Since Saul couldn't kill David with his spear, he figured the next best thing would be to give David his oldest daughter, Merab, as a wife. David refused to take her, so Saul offered another of his daughters, Michal, but David refused her too, saying he was a poor man, not worthy to be the king's son-in-law. So Saul came up with a deal that David couldn't refuse. Instead of a dowry, he offered to sell his daughter, Michal, for 100 Philistine foreskins. David agreed and went out to Philistine, and not only killed and got 100 foreskins as requested, he killed an additional 100 and took their foreskins, returning to Saul with 200 Philistine foreskins. David married Michal, and Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David. There are a number of obvious issues with this disturbing and violent story in a so-called holy book. There is no record of what Saul did with the 200 foreskins. In 1 Samuel 18 verse 10, when it talks about God sending an evil spirit, apologists say that because God is absolutely sovereign, the actions of any evil spirit would be subject to the permission by God to come upon Saul to bring him distress. They also argue that if God can extend love and grace to a man like David, who mercilessly killed 200 Philistine men and boys, then the depth of his grace is boundless. The Old Testament makes several references about the uncircumcised Philistines and views them outside of the so-called chosen people as subhuman, thus can be murdered and mutilated at will. Each foreskin represents a life taken, not by old age, not by natural disaster, not even by war or illness or accident. Each life was taken by David, and his actions were not once condemned by God. We will explore more disturbing Bible stories in future videos. Thank you.